Right, that's us live, Kareem.
Cool. Yeah, I'm ready to start if you guys are.
Yeah, good to go, I think.
Yep.
I think.
Oh, well, anyone here or anyone not here? Hello, welcome to Franchise Out of, wow, I can't even say what this is called.
Good
Franchise
start.
Out of, I know, Franchise Out of Hours Matters. It sounds so weird because it's the first time I've said it out loud, but yeah, Franchise Out of Hours Matters. That's a raw mouthful. It's a new operation from the Madden Out of Hours community. Jaden, full name Kadeem, but the Madden world, Jaden. Yeah, I am one of the commissioners in our online Xbox league. Something we are hoping to do on a regular basis. So subscribe to the channel, stay up to date. If you're not part of the league, hit one of us up on Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, welcome. Xbox only, but you never know in the future. I guess let's introduce ourselves. As I said, I am Jaden. Alongside myself is two other commissioners. Steve, how are you?
Yeah, good. Good, thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm, as you said, also one of the commissioners for a while now, Madden 25 or something like that. So yeah, been hanging around for a while.
It was the first Madden on the current generation of consoles, wasn't it?
Yeah, I kind of ran it when we moved over to Xbox One while some of the guys were still in 360. So I think it was the Adrian Peterson cover. Or he was, He was one of the cover athletes anyway. So yeah, it's not always terrible.
I guess it comes full circle given that we're here to discuss what the first Madden on the next generation of consoles. Yeah, Chris, what's good in the Scottish hood? As I can see you are also Scottish.
Yeah, it's alright. It's pretty warm here today, so not used to the heat. So, but yeah, not bad.
That's what I'm outnumbered. You've got the London guy and then the two Scottish guys. So not often us Londoners are outnumbered, but
Yeah,
I guess
just
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's not often that the Scottish would outnumber anybody else, but yeah.
Sometimes
We've always had a sort of pretty high proportion of, I think, Scottish members. We kind of had a run for a wee while of getting quite a few.
Yeah, it's one of the things I noticed.
There's always been a few of us anyway. Probably because our football teams are so crap that we kind of, or some of our football teams are so crap that we kind of head over to other sports.
Yeah, unless you're a Celtic fan, then probably best jumping over to NFL or anything else. No Celtic fans here, are there?
No.
No, we don't allow them in.
Apart from JR, he was an exception.
Yeah, that's right, JR.
So what, we're now in June, so recording June 26th, nearing the end of Madden 20. We're starting to get more and more screenshots and videos of Madden 20. We're starting to get more and more screenshots. We haven't had much in terms of actual gameplay on news that we care about, given we are a online franchise league. But I guess we've been fortunate enough to see, a few trailers, a few Twitch streams and stuff like that. I guess we'll kind of kick things off with the first trailer, if you want to bring that up, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is what we first saw, I guess, and we're watching it. It was fun, I think. I'll start with you, Steve. Kind of for this first trailer, what stuck out for you the most?
I think I quite liked it, to be honest. Some of the features, well, to be honest, were a bit worried at first, but now we've had an actual discussion about the games last night. It's a bit more at ease with it. The trailer was pretty good. What to expect from a trailer, really.
Yeah. think so just like in our Slack channels, so we have our leaguers that any way to lower the volume of the trailer, can't hear us over it. That possible? Oh, that's fine. This is our first time still getting to grips with all of this.
That should be it. I might just actually turn the trailer volume off.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just turned it off.
For those that didn't hear what SC said, he basically said, to summarize, can't really get much from a trailer, but he was quite excited by it. You know, it wasn't complete crap. I know that some of our league members weren't too impressed with it. A few kind of saying that this is what Madden 21 is going to be. They're not going to rejoin the league, which is it's quite weird given that you see what maybe 4 seconds of actual gameplay. The Lamar Jackson spin on against the Steelers. I think the main takeaways from it were one of the first things I noticed was the new scoreboard, which the scoreboard is what it is. You know, you don't really pay attention to it unless you're losing quite badly. I guess we'll start with the offense. The all carrier stick, I guess. What do you think of that?
I'll be honest. I was a bit concerned with the new ball carrier stuff. Especially, I mean, I've been playing quite a bit of Superstar KO, obviously, which is another Madden mode. And one of the main players on that is Mike Vick. And you've essentially got Mike Vick of the it was before my Madden days, but it's one of the well-known sort of talked about within the Madden community about how OP that Mike Vick was on that Madden. And on Superstar KO, Mike Vick is almost unplayable. If you're not stupid with him, it's pretty much now impossible to not do well with him on that game mode. I'm not an Ultimate Team player, but I imagine it would be fairly similar on that. And watching the Lamar Jackson somehow managing to get from about the 10-yard line to the end zone, getting past about I think 5 players. That concerned me a little bit. I don't really want to see Russian quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson being quite as good as what I think they could make them. So that was my major concern about it. You've also got guys like McCaffrey, who if you get them going, you won't be able to stop. And if they've really put a lot of sort of into the new skills that some of these players can do, that's sort of my main concern is how OP these guys can be. Yeah, that was my big takeaway from the first one. The other things like celebrations doesn't really have a big impact on the game. I mean, it's a nice little feature to have. I think I was concerned slightly that if you stop them, you say stop them, they only getting 2 yards rush. Surely you're not going to be able to celebrate after that. So I really hope it's just going to be a case of sacks, which is fine because that's something we see in real life. Maybe a big tackle for loss. If you basically stop the rusher as soon as he hands the ball off, yeah, celebrate, fine. Big rush, big reception, touchdown, great, yeah, celebrate, because we see that in real life. But I don't really want to see after every single play being able to do a celebration move, because it's going to be annoying. And I mean, as I said, I don't play Ultimate Team, but I don't see the Ultimate Team community liking that. And B, it'll slow games down. It'll be really annoying after every single play. Having celebrations after every single play. So I'm hopeful. There was some nice little things. The tackling seems pretty good. One of my big bugbears over the past few months has been you stop a player maybe they've maybe rushed it, they get 1 yard, you stop him, and then your right end comes out of nowhere and just shoves the guy for another 4 yards further forward, which, I mean, you might see occasionally in the NFL, but I think it's pretty rare to see to see a defensive end just come steaming in from nowhere and pushing the player in the wrong direction. So that I must admit I was really impressed with that. If they can get that right, I think that'll be a really good addition. And sort of and help make it, especially for sim games. I mean, the competitive ones I don't really play much, but for the sim style ones, I think that would be a really good addition.
Yeah. SC, one of the messages in the chat says, this is from Ipone, the pursuit angles have been terrible in Madden 20. Will the open field tackle hopefully fix that? Is that something which it clearly needs to be fixed, but is it something which hopefully going forward you don't get that situation where the runner rushes to the edge and you're literally like 2 centimeters away from him, if that, and you just can't tackle them, and before you know it, they've broken it for a touchdown. Do you think open field tackling kind of go into fix? And I use that word in inverted commas for now, but will it fix Madden?
Well, I think like any improvement is an improvement. You know, by default, anything like that, anything that any gameplay changes they make that are deemed improvements in inverted commas is going to help. I think this Madden seems to have got gradually worse over the season or the year, whatever. For like warping or like weird stuff happening, they just need to not take the control away from you. Basically, it's like you know what it's like. You're running to make a tackle, the other person does a juke, and like the defender just goes wherever he wants, regardless of what you do. It's a tough one. I mean, there'll always be certain runs that will work, or certain things that will be well implemented in the game. But I think, like Chris mentioned, tackling someone and then someone else running in and them pushing them over the first down marker, is pretty frustrating. So yeah, just any improvements in these areas is going to help. But like everything probably we're going to discuss tonight, it's how they've implemented it, how well is it done, and the proof is in the pudding on those ones. Really, there's not much we get. Certainly from the trailer, you can't tell anything from that. So
I mean, I think one of the other things to sort of mention along for the tackling is I don't recall ever seeing it before this Madden, but I remember the first time in a league game, I can't remember, I think it might have been Rory I was playing, and I'd rushed to the outside and then was heading upfield. And I've seen lots of, and this isn't just on Rory, because I've seen lots of guys doing it, and I've done it myself. And so it's basically a 1v1, so it's been the running back versus the cornerback, the safety or whatever. And then you see basically the defender basically like run backwards almost to get a better angle on it, which is just quite frankly ridiculous, because you would never ever see. You imagine seeing Earl Thomas like basically strafing backwards by about 15 yards to try and get a better angle on the tackle. It's just stupid, and I don't remember ever seeing it on any other Madden other than this one. This has been the first one where I've seen players actually having to do that.
Yeah, I think
if you've got the running back or the receiver running at you 1v1 with some of the angles, you've got absolutely no chance.
It feels like they tried to take away the work tackling, and now this is the result of it, where the ball carrier now is like a force field around them. Like that's to me where the it's something that needs balance. So obviously nobody wants to see work tackles where you're getting tackled from 5 yards away and the guy just sucks on to your guy, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, I noticed the phone mentioned in the chat that you said that when a user takes control. Yeah, it is. It's 100% user based. It's not the AI doing it. But it's still the first time that I've ever seen people actually having to do that on Madden. I don't remember ever previously seeing people actually having to, like, when they're switching to the safety or the corner or whoever to try and sort of stop the running back or the receiver, actually having to run back to get a better angle for the tackle. It's the first time I ever remember seeing it. But it's definitely a very common thing. I tuned in for one of the Ultimate Team finals to watch the guy that only ran it, and then
Yeah, that was fun.
that was rife. Was people just doing that pretty much every play to try and get better angles in the tackles, which is fair enough, obviously, because it's a competitive game and things like that, and you want to win, but it just looks so stupid. It's supposed to be a sim game, and to see defenders running back 15 yards before trying to make the tackle. I mean, I don't imagine Bill Belichick, if he saw that in real life, he'd be too chuffed with the Dan McCourty if he tried that. But yeah.
Oh, what? I'm glad you mentioned Bill Belichick. It's something which kind of former and current Patriots players are kind of spoken about. It's reaching out for the pylon, and like running. You see the defender come in. You're about to hit the end zone, and then you reach out, to try and get a touchdown. Something that Bill Belichick doesn't like his players doing, but something that Madden have added to this year's game. Last night, Clint Odenberg confirmed that it won't be button mechanics. It will be some kind of formula, he said. Let me quickly double check what it was.
I think it was based on
Ball carrier vision.
Ball carrier vision, and there was something else. I think it was three.
Yeah, so it was the defensive tackle and awareness, the ball carry vision and awareness. Me personally, I think this is a much needed addition to the game. I much rather it be button based. Obviously have a clear weakness and advantage. So if my receiver is going to put his arm out and the defender comes and hits him, it's much more likely to cause a fumble. This is something that you are glad to see in Madden 21.
I think so, definitely. I mean, it's not a make or breaker for me in terms of gameplay. There's always been a dive function, which kind of works. I mean, it does have its issues that if you touch a defender at a wrong angle, it's pretty much an automatic fumble, which is a bit stupid. But it's a nice little addition that they've added that just brings that little more sort of sim style game, a little bit more realism to the actual gameplay. The Lamar Jackson one's just flicked up there. It looks pretty realistic. I think it's just one of those little it's probably been a lot of work for them. If they've got it in their first trailer, it's obviously one of the major things that they've implemented. So, there's other things I'd like to see them put in, but I think as a sort of little thing they've added, I think it's generally a pretty good thing. I don't really see how they can go wrong with it. Obviously it depends how they implement it, but hopefully it'll be something that improves the game quite a lot.
Before we move on to the second trailer, SC is reaching out for the pylon, first down. They kind of described it as the defender will kind of have a different tackle depending on where they are in the field, and then that will kind of, I'd say, trigger, but the ball carrier will then probably reach out. The way they make it seems like the yin v yang and it's all going to mesh into one. How long do you think is completely abused by players that see this new mechanic?
I quite like it. I think if it's like everything else, again, that I mentioned earlier, if it works, if it's an improvement, as Chris said, it's just adding that wee extra layer to the game. I think it's important that it is ratings based. If it's Errol Thomas or whoever coming down to tackle some no-name rookie halfback, then he makes the stop, then that's right. That's how it should be, and vice versa. If it's Derek Henry running over somebody, he should roll over them and be able to reach for the pylon because that's what he does. So, as far as it being in game and how well it works, again, I'm just gonna have to wait and see. But I like it. It's a good thing. Whether it should be the main feature of the trailer, I don't know. But no problem with that at all.
Yeah, I think there was a few people kind of questioning why that was one of the main features from the first trailer. There's also been a second trailer which should be up on screen very shortly. The second trailer
Our goal in
kind of summed
Madden
it up,
21
basically
is to deliver
doubled down
complete
on what
control
we
to
saw
our
in the
players on
first
both
trailer.
sides of the ball.
There's a few
As the
new
rising
reveals.
generation of stars change the game every
I'm sure
single
you'll
week,
see
we're
shortly
changing with them,
when
and this
basically
all starts
pass
at
rushers
the
trying to
line
get
of
to the
scrimmage.
quarterback.
The pass rush can control a modern NFL
bars,
game, and we're introducing all new defensive line mechanics to make playing
kind of
as a
signal
pass
how many
rusher
attempts
both
you
more
have to get to the
responsive
quarterback,
and more
and you
fun
can't
to
kind of
play.
spam them
And
over
it all
and over
starts
again.
with control.
Once you deplete your 5
All
bars,
pass rush moves are now on
basically
the
no
right
more
stick and
pass
triggers, which
rush
allows you to
moves.
perform the exact move
Also
you want
saw
every time.
when they're
The
calling the
on-field
journal,
trainer will bring
the
more
side
player
hurdle, I
feedback to the
guess,
battle
the
as
jump
well.
hurdle.
You'll see how
Well,
many
like the
moves
dead
or
leg
attempts you
moves.
have on any given play, and we'll get a clear feedback if the
Start
move
with
was
you
successful
and
or not.
pass rush
The new
moves.
pass rush system
Your
in
thoughts
Madden
on that?
21 means playing D-line isn't just for the newcomers anymore. It introduces a whole new strategy at the line of scrimmage built for all Madden players. Control on the offensive side of the ball is also getting an overhaul in Madden 21 with the skill stick ball carrier system. Like the superstars of this generation, we wanted to bring a new level of creativity and control to the field for our players to take advantage of. The right stick acts as your main control point between you, the defender, and the open field, and all the moves can be linked together to create exciting skill moves at any moment. There are 2 new moves that the skill stick has unlocked.
Amateurs. Fucking amateurs.
I know. Not thought this through. Right, so I'll start again. Yeah, so when what did I say again? So the first trailer, I was a little bit concerned that some of the top players, especially with the introduction of X Factor abilities, would be quite OP. Like say Boza, some of these top pass rushing guys. I thought, oh, here we go. But I think when they've sort of gone a bit more in depth to it and talked about last night, with each one will get 5, and I think you get, so if you use 3, yes, you get 5. If you use 3 on one play, you'll only regenerate 1 for the next play, which I think is really good. So we won't have basically just pass rushers having unlimited moves, and you'll basically have to think about when you use them. I think one of the biggest things for me that came out of the one last night, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead out of what was discussed last night, was that they kind of mentioned that, I've forgotten the guy's name, the developer, the ex-Redskins.
Clint Oldenburg.
Yeah, Clint Oldenburg basically kind of butted in and said that this will make lurkers think about D-line. That's huge. I mean, generally speaking, the best players in our league are the ones that are the best play callers and the best users. I think generally speaking, that's pretty accurate. And if this can maybe change things up slightly and makes people think, where do I have to use these pass rushing moves? I think will be a big improvement. Because it could completely alter the way people play defense realistically. Because it generally was always just whoever's the best user pretty much on defense generally wins. So I think this will have a huge effect. I mean, Chase Young there you saw coming in with the different pass rushes. Yeah, I think it could be, if they've got it right, I think it could be the biggest thing we've seen in Madden for, I don't know, a long time. Basically since they changed the way, what's it called when what the games run on, the platform, or I've forgotten the word.
For the Frostbite engine.
Yeah, since they changed engines, I think this will probably be the biggest thing that they've brought in. But again, it all is just going to depend on how it's implemented. We'll have to wait and see until we actually get our hands on the game. But yeah, I must admit, I'm quite impressed with it. I think that could be a really good addition. It'll completely change the way people play defense, I think. Hopefully. Anyway.
Yeah, given that we kind of have a rule to limit, the best way to explain the Tolbert rule. You can't use one player all game, basically. And yeah, as Chris kind of said, what we've noticed over the years is that the better players are just only really good play callers, but they can completely cancel out 2 or 3 routes by using one player. in the Madden community, you kind of you use the D line, you're kind of seen as a noob.
Yeah.
See, it's going to completely change that outlook.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I would say it makes somebody a noob if they're using a D line. Certainly, it's where people will start. But like we had well, his name on Twitter is Poor King Awesome, but it's Tom Donlan. He was brilliant on the D line, like really good at it. And it was a strength. But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I agree with Chris, exactly what Chris said. When I first seen it, it was worrying. The way they've explained it last night sounds really good. Definitely adds another element to the game. It could be the case that people will start using the D-line, which is good because it takes away from superhuman linebackers that can cover the whole field if they're still in the game, which chances are they will be. So it gives people that maybe can't use it gives them more of a puts the ball back in their court kind of thing. So I think it could be a game changer, definitely.
The other kind of main highlight in this video was the ball carrier stick. Again, Clint Odenberg kind of, what's the best way to explain this? A lot of people after the first trailer kind of rightfully pointed out that the stick skills were on the right analog stick previously. That all EA and Madden have done is just put it back and try to do what Madden do best, take something away and bring it back. Go, oh look, we've added something new. Given that it's now back on the right analog stick, how positive is this for offensive players, Chris?
Say that again. Sorry, I was changing the scene to make the video come up, so it kind of zoned out a bit. Apologies.
The new ball carrier stick skill being back on the right analog stick. How good is this for offensive players?
It's a tricky one. I mean, I quite like the way it was before. I mean, how often do we see in real life McCaffrey or, I mean, the one in the trailer, you see Lamar Jackson sort of somehow manage to get past about, I think, 6 defenders, I think he gets past. I mean, how often realistically do we see that? Not very often. It would be unlikely for him to manage to get past them all. So if they somehow have managed to implement a system where you can easily get past that many defenders, I mean, the Barkley one just jumped up there when he gets past 2, which, I mean, I'm sure Barkley can do it, and I'm sure he has done it. I don't watch many Giants games, but I don't want to be seeing that every single play. Where, I mean, here's the Jackson one now. Yeah, it goes past. I mean, that Cook one as well goes past about 4 players with 3 moves. I don't want to be seeing that every single play. If it's just every now and again, great, brilliant. But I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it every time. It's just going to make them way too overpowered, and put a big onus on having those X factors.
Hard to judge, I think, on the trailer because there'd be no point in them saying, "Look, this is what you can do," and then he gets tackled by the first guy he does it to. Do you know what I mean? So this could be on rookie difficulty or whatever. I'd agree. Like you don't want anything overpowered, so you've just got to hopefully trust that they'll try and balance it. There's the closed beta this year sounds bigger than ever, so hopefully that will help with these things, although not for folk from the UK.
Or we don't exist.
Yeah,
I didn't realise
in
that.
Canada only.
Okay. I did actually notice. Sorry, I knew.
I was just going to say, I don't know if that's always been the case. Not last year, but the year before, I managed to get better.
Yeah, I had one as well. Yeah. Yeah, because I was actually just about to say, I did notice when they were discussing last night, they said obviously they go on about how much we value your feedback and stuff. I mean, I'm not quite sure how much that's true, but they were desperate. I mean, they were definitely keen on getting feedback, and they did. I can't remember which one of them, the guys that were doing it, mentioned that said depending on how the feedback goes, they may switch it back.
Might have been Clint.
Yeah, they did mention that they may switch it back depending on how feedback goes. So we could see by the time that the game comes out, it's back to the old way.
The only thing I didn't like about it was truck is now Y and hurdle is up on the right thumbstick. So
that's horrible.
They basically swapped them, yeah.
A lot of unintentional hurdles, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes.
I don't fancy trying to truck with like Alvin Kamara or Dalvin Cook on some of these big middle linebackers, or taking Derrick Henry and trying to hurdle over a D lineman. Yeah.
I think a lot of this is going to go back to the abilities as well. I was listening to NY Kia on YouTube earlier. He's a guy based in America, well, obviously New York, I'm guessing. He seems to know a lot about the X's and O's and stuff like that. And he was talking about the run fits and what they're bringing in. He says, like, all this is great, and if this all works, that's good. But if they've still got things like joystick and jukebox or whatever it is that make the players ridiculous, then it's a waste of time. So we'll see how it goes again. Just got to wait and see.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I think the one thing I would add would be, Madden gets a lot of crap from the community that plays it, and deservedly so, because there is loads of things that they do neglect on. Thinking, from our point of view, none of us are really Ultimate Team players. We're all franchise based, and we feel neglected. But in terms of the actual game itself, I hated the last one. Absolutely despised the last one. I've quite enjoyed this one, and I've enjoyed every other one. But I think generally speaking, they do a pretty good job for it being a full contact sport. When you look at some of the other games that EA do, so you've got FIFA, which is non-contact, so they don't have to get the mechanics for tackling and things like that. NHL, again, not really non-contact, or it's mainly non-contact. You've got the hit stick and stuff like that. Basketball, again, non-contact. 2K, I think this year's regressed slightly. I think the last 2K was a brilliant game, but I think this one just doesn't quite feel right. Whereas I think Madden do a pretty good job getting the game right, and I feel horrible saying that because I was hoping 2K would get a hold of the NFL game, just because of what they do with franchise mode. But I think in terms of what you actually do with the gameplay, I think it's actually a pretty good game, other than last year. But yeah, it's not. I don't imagine it's the easiest game to produce in comparison to some of the other ones that EA do. Just because it's a high contact sport and trying to get the mechanics of all the players blocking, tackling, and things like that. I think generally speaking, they do a pretty good job. And I think that quite often goes unmentioned. But yeah.
I think, for me personally, I'm not really a skills person in terms of executing juke moves and stuff like that. More of I run, I kind of just wiggle my left analog stick a bit and hopefully get past people. Find that when you start doing juke moves and spin moves and all that kind of stuff, your player just gets tired, hit stick, fumble. Again, that's just me personally. Is that the way to balance out, kind of highlighting all these skills? The more you do, the more fatigued your player is, and the more likely to fumble. Is that the way to go, SC?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to do 8 spin moves and just carry on. I actually think fatigue had a pretty decent impact this year, particularly in terms of injuries for halfbacks. I found as soon as I used them too many plays, he was out, and that was it for a few games. But yeah, again, it's a hard one. You want to be able to. I think the thing that is for me is it shouldn't stop the user defender tackling you if you pull off this move. It should be a way for you to get round the user defender, but it shouldn't take the control away from you. That's the big thing for me. But yeah, I think fatigue has got to be the thing, and I think that's kind of or a system that they've kind of implemented with the offensive line, by the sounds of it. You know, or D line rather. You get so many moves, and then they sort of drop off and stuff like that. So it's weird. I don't think this year moves have been particularly overpowered. Again, I think it's more the abilities that have made some halfbacks a bit crazy.
It's time to kind of get to the longest video we've seen, which was just Twitch stream last night. There was so much to dive into. Improved run defense, better tackling, slash location based tackles, zone drop coach adjustment, which sounds amazing. Kind of carrying on from the pass rush moves, something that Clint said was that if you, so just say you keep on doing like a spin move to the right tackle, you will kind of realize what you're doing and become immune to it, basically. But he also said that if you have like, so I think the example he used was Von Miller against the right tackle, then switching the left tackle. Basically, Chubb against the right tackle kind of one had the immunity against Chubb. So if Von Miller goes back to the right tackle, the right tackle will remember, and I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah.
How did that sound to you?
Yeah, for me, yeah, more good stuff. You know, I mean that. Again, it's just I'm going to keep saying it. It's how well they've implemented it. Is the O-line actually going to remember and then stop the guy, just pancake him dead? That'd be brilliant. Or is it going to be the case that they still get past them fairly easily? Again, a good addition. Anything that takes away spamming the same thing is good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just hit the exact word on the head there, or words there. That anything that can take away constant spamming is generally a good thing. I think a lot of the time, I mean, there was a certain amount of skill to using the D line, but I mean, if you've got somebody like Myles Garrett who was just obscene this year, some of the other guys that played on the outside or inside, if you could essentially just click onto them and then mash either. I'm trying to remember the Xbox buttons, X or A, and you pretty much were through pretty quickly. So I think if they've implemented it right, as SC said, I think it could be a really good addition. I mean, some of the things that they spoke about last night. I mean, with us having this planned, it's the most I've kind of looked into the gridiron notes and things like that they've announced that are being released. But I was quite sort of happy with kind of some of the stuff that they talked about last night. It was quite promising that if they've done everything right, it could be a real addition to the game. But yeah, especially that one, that could be huge. The fatigue one as well, I think for me is massive. If they've got that working well. I mean, we've had an issue where over the last couple of months with running backs getting injured. So hopefully tying in with the fatigue thing, if they've managed to kind of work a way around that. I mean, my rookie at the moment in our franchise, I think he's had 2 seasons, and I think he's had 4 or 5 injuries. Probably missed about an entire season already, which is not ideal. And I don't think that's particularly uncommon. So if they can kind of tie that in with the fatigue stuff, it would be quite good.
Just looking at the gridiron notes from yesterday, and I do love how it starts with the run defense. It says, simply put, stopping the run game in Madden 20 was too difficult for most. I think it was too difficult for everyone, given that someone won the Madden Championship, only won the ball. They talk about a few things. So, force defenders was something that came up quite a bit, and it sounded like something from Star Wars. It's Madden, apparently. So, force defender, it says that defenders aligned on the line of scrimmage at the snap will use wider angles at the start of the play to show more anticipation and better pursuit prediction to set the edge for outside running plays. Given that, again, our league has an issue with people calling dives and then bouncing it out to the outside straight away because one, they completely missed the A and B gap, and two, one to get to the edge is basically a massive 10 yards. There would have been a lot of positive talk tonight, but see, starting with you, how good do defenders sound?
It's I wrote down some quite technical details given so it's going into the X's and O's. I guess that's you're described as a fourth defender if you're in a certain position, and again that goes back to what NY Kia was talking about. It sounds like we've already kind of touched on it. It all sounds good. I didn't. Obviously, we're not playing at the level the Madden Championship guys are playing at, but I didn't find run defense that bad. Again, it went back to the actual abilities of players, like X factors. That was the hard bit about it. It's tricky, but again, any kind of improvements in these areas is all good. All good with me. Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just say I was pretty similar to SC in that I didn't think this Madden was particularly bad for stopping the run. I didn't think it was as bad as what last year's was. I thought that game was just everything was broken in it. But no, I must admit, I didn't think this year's was too bad in terms of stopping the run. I mean, if somebody's got a really good O-line and a good running back, then obviously they're able to run the ball. But I mean, that's what it should be. If somebody's got that in real life, good O-line, good running back, then the chances are they're going to be good at running the ball. So yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was. I mean, listening to that thing last night, or this morning, they touched on it, and it sounds like in the competitive kind of Madden community, and also I'm guessing in the Ultimate Team community, it sounds like it has been an issue. But I don't think for us it's been. I mean, I could be wrong here, but I don't think it's been a major factor for us. And I don't think I've not really come across many complaints about people saying that the run game is ridiculous, unless you're coming up against Rayski's running back, of course. But other than that, other than that, I don't think we've had a major issue. Other than the run outside, that's been a problem. But other than that, I don't think.
Gurley was very hard to stop early in the year, because I think he's got joysticks, so just changing your direction in a split second is it's tough going. I think like anything in Madden, putting 4 tight ends in, and something we'll talk about a bit later, flipping the play twice and calling an audible this and doing that and then running for 10 yards. If that's the way that they've found out to abuse the engine of the game and get the yards, there's nothing they can do about that. These things will always come up, but it is what it is. I think obviously when the top guys are having trouble stopping the run, then there is an issue. So all good with them making the change.
As always with not just Madden but games in general, kind of it's one thing and then the other thing kind of gets completely OP. So fixing the run game factored in with the new QB and passing improvements, and I'll kind of run through a few very quickly. So you've got throwing out of sacks. All QBs will have the ability to throw the ball while being tackled. Deep passes under pressure. To Madden 21 under pressure throwing animations, which allows QB to contextually speed up throwing motion when feeling pressure on deep passes, which I find extremely frustrating when you've got the guy beat deep, go to throw it, and then you've got the most drawn out throwing animation. You get sacked, you want to just pick your controller. That sounds good. without going through every single thing they've got under the QB and passing improvements, Madden 21 going to be completely pass heavy. And I think one of the things I did want to touch on actually was, where is it? It's basically, QB branch outs. QBs can now quickly branch out of the drop back to throw the ball at any time. As soon as the QB has received a snap, if a receiver button input is given, QB will immediately branch out of his existing behavior and throw the ball to the intended receiver. How, again, I don't want to be too negative, but how broken is that going to be? Will we see people snap the ball to the slant straight away and take it to the house? Or is it something that, again, needed to be brought in because of the delayed animations? And I'll start with SE on this.
It's one of the few things they talked about last night that I thought sounds horrible. It sounds really bad. Again, depends on how they've implemented it, but I didn't like the sound of it at all. I don't really know what the issue is there. Like, they're saying they want them to throw immediately. Like, well, that doesn't happen. A quarterback doesn't throw the ball as soon as they get it. You know what I mean? They've got to pick it, pick it up isn't obviously the technical term. They've got to pick it up, get it in their hand, get their arm back. So is it going to be that's just going to be wiped out and they're just going to be pinging all over the place? I know what you were saying about the deep ball, but I actually think that's kind of realistic. Like, it's not just a flick of the wrist to launch the ball downfield, so they do kind of have to wind up to it. Yeah, I'm not optimistic about the QB branching out thing. The other kind of stuff they talked about sounded okay. I think rather than throwing the ball during a sack, I think they should throw it away more. That would make more sense. I don't think they should be making passes when they're getting sacked. But just throw it into the dirt, throw it away or whatever. That would be better. What was the other thing I'd written down? The max distance power penalty sounds pretty good as well. So if you're trying to throw it over your QB's in theory max distance, then there'll be a penalty to his accuracy and stuff, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good addition. I don't really want to see quarterbacks with what we see in real life with quite weak arms. I mean, Drew Brees, I think has gone down massively in the last wee while. I don't really want to see him pinging 70-yard bombs like we'll see probably from Mahomes. So I don't think he'll have a max. I think he'll probably be able to ping it from end zone to end zone. Josh Allen maybe as well would be another one.
Brady probably, he'll be reinvigorated with all that sunshine. He'll be launching bombs.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to what you mentioned about Kadeem, you mentioned about the throwing thing. I've definitely noticed it. I mean, obviously I play in both leagues. In the originals one, I've got a rookie or a regen, superstar dev. I think he's high 80 overall, and his speed that he throws the ball is just quite frankly ridiculous. And he kind of throws like this weird sidearm throw, and he just pings it out ridiculously quickly. Whereas over in game day, I have one of the legends, Tony Romo, and that annoys the hell out of me, as you said, Kadeem. He'll maybe have like 10 yards before, if you've sort of run out on a play action, he'll maybe have 10 yards before that he can throw it. And the wind up for him to throw it maybe 40 yards is just ridiculous. And then it's just a sack, and maybe 5 times out of 10, 50% of the time a fumble. And I just don't quite get the difference between how can one be so quick and one be so throw. I mean, I know Mahomes, I had him as well. He was ridiculously quick. So, I mean, how come Tony Romo, who's a superstar 96 rated quarterback, be so slow, yet some others be so quick? Like, there's nothing you can change. There's no I don't think there's some sort of ability for it. So where does it, like, what defines the difference of how quickly they throw it? Because it's not something that you can see.
Is it not their animation, which you can I think you can mess about with that in the
Could be. I'm honestly not sure. But that in itself would worry me slightly, because I mean, if you can just change the animation and all of a sudden they throw the ball quicker on the actual field, I don't think I like that.
yeah.
To me, it should be player type. I mean, like Lamar, Mahomes, Russell Wilson should obviously be able to throw the ball a lot quicker while moving than what, I mean, Tom Brady, Rodgers should obviously be able to throw it a lot quicker if their feet are planted. But that should be something that should be built into the archetype of each player, and not just I mean, it could be something that you can just edit. I don't know. But I have definitely noticed that the difference between the two. One is insanely quick and one is ridiculously slow.
Move on to something which could, I personally believe, be completely game changing, and that is the zone drop coach adjustment. Quickly read out what they have in the gridiron notes. Introducing a new set of coach adjustments that will allow you as the defensive player to customize the depth of your zone drops for underneath zone defenders. Coaching adjustments will give you the ability to change the drop depth of flat, hook, and curl flat zones in increments of 5 yards up to a max of 30 yards from the line of scrimmage. We'll start with you, Chris. How good does this sound? And if it doesn't sound good, why?
When they first started talking about it, I was quite amazed. I just didn't see it coming. I don't know why they didn't lead with that as one of their things that they'd introduced in over blooming celebrations after a sack or whatever. To me, this could, if it works, it could be one of the biggest things they've ever done. But again, yeah, you'd have to wait and see until I actually get my hands on the game. I mean, as soon as the game comes out, this is the first thing I'm doing. I'll be straight away onto franchise mode, load up a franchise, and straight into practice to see how this thing actually works. Because I mean, Essie's probably understands it a little bit better than what I do. But yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. If it works, brilliant. But yeah, it all just depends on if they've done it right or not.
SC, do you understand it better?
I don't know about that. I mean, it's going to be useful, but is it just a way to fix the broken zones? You know, like the flats don't currently this year don't cover the flat.
Yeah.
And they should. You know, the purple zones don't cover the areas they should. So is it just a way of getting around that, or is it actually going to make a difference in game? I mean, again, I like the sound of it. It's pretty good. It's going to be useful. You know, come out and cover 4, but have your zones low, stuff like that. It's going to be a good thing to do. But we will see. We'll see. Reserve judgment on it.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that, I mean, the whole thing is that it is a coaching adjustment, so you should be able to in game. I mean, I notice in certain games, certain players will like certain types of plays, so they'll like throwing it to the running backs. They'll like calling certain out routes. So if you spot 2 in your mid first quarter, you can jump onto coaching adjustments and change this, and boom, they call it again, and it's a pick 6. That should be what coaching adjustments are for, and not just when you're down by a score and you need the ball back, change it to. But this to me is an actual coaching adjustment where you can change something, and by what you've done, that has a major effect on what happens in the game. So again, if they've done it right, I think this could be, and it'll make some people really wary of the way they're playing and not changing it up and just throwing it short to running backs or waiting for cutbacks or whatever.
It's definitely going to slow down the mesh guys if it's effective. and the guy, like you just said, that's thrown underneath, if it works. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think for me, and it's something which when I first started playing Madden, together with the one with AP on the front, one of the first most broken plays I remember was PA end around. Part of the problem with PA end around is that to stop it from working, you have to make so many adjustments, which was so difficult to make, and to go through the person who's playing through to the same part of the field every single time. Down to me that this would be the best way to stop something like that. If you're playing, I don't think our league would have the same problem because you can't spam the same plays over and over again. Just say you're playing someone who's running corner strike and those two routes basically are killing you over and over again. You can set your one of your zones to play, 15 yards deeper because that's where the ball's going to go, and all of a sudden your opponent has to expect that. I personally hope that it's something that can quickly be changed. I think it's something that as a league maybe we have to look into in terms of obviously you've got 15 seconds to call a play, but if you want to make that kind of adjustment and that takes 15 seconds, you can't pick your defensive formation. So maybe something that we need to look into. But I personally love the sound of this. Again, like a lot of stuff we've said so far tonight, if it actually works the way it is intended to. Something else, to kind of pick up on the catching responsiveness, and I'm sure both of you have had situations where third and one, got a quick route, go to possession, catch it, and the guy falls behind the line of scrimmage just by the fact that he was in front of it when he threw it. Catching responsiveness, the way they've worded it, is basically, I'll say it how they have it. Players can now dictate the direction they want their catch to take them as they secure the catch via left stick input. For example, when holding up vertical and L stick and using the possession catch, we select a possession catch that will fall in the same direction as the stick input, ensuring the receiver won't go to the ground short of the sticks. It's basically the example I just gave. So how did that sound to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a little bit more realism. I mean, I've fallen foul to that where I've had a trying to make a third down or whatever, and I've caught it basically on the line, and the guy's fallen down, and you get that dreaded flash up 4th and inches, and think, oh shit, I need to punt now. Just because obviously you didn't have control over where the possession catch goes. Whereas if they have added that now, I must admit I missed that. I didn't see that I must have glanced past it in the notes. Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. If it works, brilliant. Just that little bit more realism to the game. I think that could be really good.
See anything to add on catching responsiveness?
No, all good with that. Again, just more improvements, as they say. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So hopefully it works.
I think the next thing we'll talk about is something I know that definitely grinds your gears. We kind of touched on it so far. We've got it down as balance for repeated audible / play flips in pre-play. What they've said is that if you play someone who constantly flips the play, calls a bunch of audibles at the line of scrimmage, they're more likely to get a full start penalty or something like that. How needed is this in Madden 21?
I don't know we danced. I don't know we danced this morning when I was. Yeah, brilliant. No, nobody wants to sit there and watch 3 audibles, flipping the play twice. Again, goes back to abusing the engine of the game. Nobody's interested. Well, from our point of view, yeah, brilliant. I'll be ramping that penalty up to max as well, so that it happens all the time as soon as they start messing about too much. Be really good. I think we mentioned it in the chat. I hope it relates to hot routes as well. I've asked the question of EA, but whether they'll respond or not, I don't know. But it hopefully will apply to hot routes as well, and hopefully also applies to defense. But I don't think it will.
The way they've got it is if the QB, they specifically say penalty had been put in place to simulate the confusion of an offensive player would likely have QB change the play 3 to 6 times while sitting in his pre-play stance. And Oldenburg also used that same example. If he's at the line of scrimmage and the QB keeps on changing the play and all that kind of stuff, he'll get confused. Do you think, and again, this is to Chris, do you think, as SC said, it's needed for players that call 4 or 5 routes per play?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, as SC said, it's something. I mean, it's been my bugbear for the last 2 Maddens. I mean, the one thing I will add is, although it looks great, I've had an issue. I think I can't remember if it's just been this last Madden or the one before, that you will change the play, which I have no issue with. I don't mind if people see something they don't like changing the play. I hate the hot routes. But I don't have an issue with changing the play. But if you come out in a run, you've got the tight end lined up on the left hand side, 2 wide receivers on the left and 1 wide receiver on the right. You then change the play and all of them swap. Like, I didn't do that. All I wanted to do was change the play. Like, you've shown me in the play art what it will change to. So why do you then, when I actually choose the new play, then flip the play art? I just want, in the same positions as you've shown me, this is the new play. Why do we then need to flip? Because if you're then doing that, you've then added in a change of the play and a flip. That's now at 2. And what's the limit for possibly now getting a penalty?
You didn't
say they mentioned 2, I think, but
2.
whether that's
okay.
So if that still happens, you're then now at a risk of O-line being confused because you've flipped it, which you didn't want to. All I wanted to do was change your play. I mean, even sometimes if you change run plays, it's the same formation and you just change from a, say, halfback toss to an inside zone and it flips it. I've not asked it to flip, but it's done it. And it's, especially if your clock's running low and you flip the play and you've got 5 seconds left, I mean, that's you now taking a full start unless you take the timeout. So, hopefully that is something that I hope they have addressed. Anyway, but with the addition of this as well, if that counts towards your one possible chance or 50% of your chance of a penalty, I'd be pretty miffed at getting a full start off the back of it. When all I wanted to do was just change the play, which I mean is a fairly common thing in the NFL. It's not like it's something you fairly regularly see them changing the play. I don't imagine Tom Brady's behind the line changing the play and then proceeds to then change all 4 wide receivers hot routes. I don't imagine that happens, but Madden allows it. So yeah, I think it's a really good thing that they've added, and hopefully it works. As with everything that they.
Yeah. To follow on from what we kind of discussed briefly there, you had them talking about the player personnel packaging. So again, it's a situation where, let's say you come out into the field. Do you know what? Again, I'll read the gridiron notes. They explain it better than myself. Pre-play audible system now considers the actual personnel on the field. Changing your personnel in the play call menu, either via packages or formation subs, or pre-play audibles will now match the personnel packages on the field. If you are using 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, in a formation like gun, empty flex, you will be able to audible to any other formation in your playbook that also uses 12 personnel. Now, this feature only applies to the offense, but as it continues to evolve, we are looking for opportunity to continue to expand upon it. Chris, was this needed?
I'll be honest, that's getting into quite technical for me. As I've said numerous times before, I just want to be able to choose the play, and if I don't like the look, change it. I don't really get too worried about what players are in the formations and stuff. So yeah, I mean, for some players, I'm sure it'll be a big thing. I think for sort of the mid-range to less interested in that kind of stuff, I don't think it's really going to make a difference. But I think for some of the ones that are sort of really know what they're doing, I mean, SC touched on the zones and stuff like that. I mean, I just know the zones by their colour. I don't really know much. But for some of the guys that really know what they're doing, I think it'll be a big advantage to them. But for me, it wasn't really a big thing, and not really something I paid too much attention to.
See, was this a big thing for you?
Not particularly, not too fast. I was trying to think how it differs from how it's done now, because you seem to only have certain formations when you go to Audible anyway, but I'm happy people can Audible to whatever play they want as long as they just do it once and not 6 times, and so yeah, no issues with that really. No real thoughts on it either.
A few more things that the Gridiron notes kind of pick up on, but I'm not quite sure there's anything you guys really want to talk about. Ability improvements, kicking game tuning, defensive contain balance.
The kicking one I thought was a bit of a contradiction. Like, I can't remember how it was worded. It was something like what was it they said again? It was like wait till I just go and find it. Hang on, so I know what I'm talking about.
Was that the stuff about the scum kick?
Yeah, no, the point before that, they said kick power wind impact has been tuned in simulation game style so that kickers and punters don't always launch unrealistically deep kicks, right? Which is fine. But then, while the wind impact on the kicking game will be less significant, so surely that's not right. Surely it should be more significant.
I must admit, I raised an eyebrow when I saw that as well, because if you've got, I'm trying to think some of the, Foxborough, for example, can get pretty windy games there. Obviously, I get if the indoor ones, if they want to remove, because I think there was a glitch at the start of this Madden, I think, where some indoor stadiums were still getting wind effect.
I think there should be more wind. Like, the wind's always I feel as though it's just always 8 miles per hour, whatever direction they want to do it. But I didn't really understand that point at all. Like, I don't know what they're trying to say there. I don't think kickers always do launch unrealistically deep kicks. Like, in my 5th season, my kickers and my punter didn't have great power, and it was definitely noticeable that they couldn't launch it as far as the other guys. So whether they just mean that folk won't be able to hit 60-yard field goals or not, maybe it's to do with that.
I think, the power one wasn't so much an issue for me, because generally speaking, I would always, whenever I was signing a kicker or whatever, I would never draft one because you don't know what their power is going to be. But when I was signing one for free agency, I would basically just sort it in terms of who's got the highest kick power, because unless it's a CPU game, the accuracy doesn't seem to really matter. Now, I would change that. So if I sign a kicker that's got 98 kick power, he'll maybe be able to kick it 65 yards, but it'll hit the end, like the pylon in the end zone, because he's got 65 accuracy. Whereas the accuracy just didn't really seem to have an effect on it. So I would have liked them to have changed that slightly, because the kicking is a fairly big part of the game. So I would like to have seen them maybe change that a little bit, and to say make the wind matter less, I didn't quite get how that's going to work. It's that seagull back again. But yeah, as I said, whenever I was saying a kicker or a punter, it was always accuracy just does not matter. Not interested in it at all. And then just go with kick power. That was really the only thing I was interested in. And you could,
I think
pretty much anything from 55 or less was automatic. You'd maybe struggle slightly from over that, but 55, generally speaking, was pretty much automatic.
Kicking felt easier this year, I would have said. It used to only be just Rob and Justin Tucker that could nail those type of kicks, but I think there definitely seems to be longer kicks getting made. So I think they should make it harder. That's a definite.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the last points on this. I drafted a kicker in our last draft because I couldn't afford to keep the guy I had, and rookie kicker taken quite late. I'm still completely fine with extra points and field goals, and I kind of think that it shouldn't be that case. Kind of feel that, I think kicking is a timing thing. You get the timing right, you're completely fine. I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be a lot more difficult because, you saw Robert Aguayo. You saw him struggling so much, and because don't really last that long in the league because it's an actual skill, and I kind of think that Madden should replicate that. Yeah, that is basically what was said last night. We will end up talking about franchise as we are a franchise league. Reveal for franchises, or I say the reveal. We've got our next bit. I know it will be Tuesday, June 30th, and focuses on face of the franchise and classic franchise. I'll put it, me personally, I don't care about face of the franchise. I will not touch face of the franchise, but I know some people completely love it. For me, it's all about franchise. Again, as we very quickly, Rory, clearly does not still have it. He has no arm whatsoever, and good luck this season. Yeah, obviously we are a Madden community. Our members have their own wish list for they want to see Madden 21, and I think one thing that popped up quite a bit. I think we should start with DJ. His first wish is different levels of staff. For example, better scouts give more detailed grades than rookies, better coaches, and proven stats. Scouting and coaches seem to pop up quite a bit, and I think that's one of the biggest Madden wish list, the whole coaching carousel thing. Yes, do you think franchise will get a scouting and coaching overhaul?
To put it bluntly, no. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but it's desperately needed. I think that, I mean, I've just flipped open the sort of what everybody had down. I think most people pretty much mentioned scouting. I think it needs some sort of overhaul. From my point of view, it would be one of my biggest things that I would want changed. The old system, I think the basics were there, but I mean, this is going back quite a few Maddens now, but I think the old system, it basically was like with the amount of points you got over the season, you could unlock 3 players dev, which I get it, that was a big thing to scout, but to basically, I think, only be able to unlock 3 players dev and nothing else. So they could be 50 overall with superstar dev, but obviously you wouldn't know. All you unlocked was their dev. I think there's bits there, if they could kind of combine the two, but yeah, I don't want to really be drafting a cornerback and not have a clue what either his man or his zone is, or get one of them, or maybe both. I think you should be able to have a pretty good idea of what both will be. But I mean, it's a huge thing for them to completely overhaul. I don't really know how they can do it. But it would be nice if they could kind of find some middle ground between the old system and the current one. But we'll just have to wait and see if we get anything on Tuesday.
Let's see. I think we'll start with scouting. How would you overhaul scouting?
It's a tough one. I don't know. I think it's too easy at the moment for a start, the scouting. You know who the good players are going to be in the draft. I think it's more the draft classes need overhauled in the player progression rather than how they scout. I mean, there's 101 ideas of what you could do for scouting. Talking like linking back to what the guys have mentioned about coaches and stuff. You could do for your staff. Your staff could say this, and again, this is something I thought about earlier. This is kind of similar to Manager, for those that have played it, where your scouts will say, well, this player's could be about a 77 overall, or give them a score for talking sake out of 100. This player will be 10. This player will be 80, and you kind of have to go with that. Or you can maybe invest in something. Maybe you could use some you could think, right, I want to use some scouting points in him, but it shouldn't give you everything. It's too random. It's too random at the moment. Like, to see a centre's get A+ run block, so you think, well, that's good, but then the best in the classes only get 65 run blocks. So
Yeah.
you know what you're supposed to do is kind of a shot in the dark. But definitely, I think if they went, I'm the same as Chris, unfortunately. But if they went to more of a football manager style, both for scouting and player progression, it would make a huge difference to the game. Get away from XP progression and more towards the progression is just built in. Yes, you can do training and stuff to try and focus on certain areas, but the guys will either progress or they won't. Obviously, that's kind of tricky when you're maybe only playing 5 seasons, but I'd still rather that than what we have at the moment, which is not fit for purpose, really.
I think I don't know if you guys follow Juice Douglas, YouTuber and franchise mastermind. I know a lot of people in the community won't be able to hype him because his franchise ideas are absolutely amazing. His screens are amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of looking at his rookie scouting thing, and I know one thing he talks about, kind of like scouts should actually mean something. So if you've got bad scouts, so you've got your franchise, you've got your team, hire and fire your coaches. If you've got good scouts, basically the scouting reports they give you should be better and more in depth than a team of bad scouts. I think me personally, and again I'm looking at Bruce Douglas's scouting mock-up he's got up right now. You've got like player comparisons, short-term projection, long-term projection, draft ceiling, draft floor, all that kind of things. And again, I think the whole lettering grade for 3 different attributes to me it's just so outdated. It needs, I think I agree that draft classes need to be a bit deeper. I think at the moment in our league we find that outside of the first round there's just no need to even draft because they're completely useless. They take ages to develop. I'm looking at some of the things he's got in his scouting report, go off the line and has trouble getting into his routes which can throw off timing. So this is the wide receiver. I call him a fumbler, but ball security definitely has room to improve. Look comfortable in college, running a diverse route tree, no glaring weaknesses, and shouldn't be limited in the pros. This kind of thing that scouting needs. It's no one's in the NFL. No scout says, "Okay, I reckon this guy's going to be good in man, good at tackling, and something else." No, it's so much more in depth than that. And at the moment, we're kind of shortchanged. I think coaching carousel is something that I'm not quite sure how it would work in a league like ours with 32 users. Again, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. Just do you guys want to talk about coaching carousel or another Madden wish list to you guys?
I just think, an easy resolution for that would be a staff budget.
Yeah.
You've got a staff budget, you've got to fill position X, Y, Z. Here you go. You can either have really good scouts or really good coaches, or I don't know, whatever would be in between, really good trainers so your players are fit or whatever.
Of the 4 major American sport games, NHL has it. You have your assistant coaches, things like that. Obviously, that makes a difference as to training at certain positions, things like that. 2K, I think, is the best one. They have obviously head coach, assistant, trainer, and then what's the other one, Kadeem?
I haven't played
the show.
Oh.
The show has the same thing: batter coaches, pitcher coaches. I think Madden's the only one that doesn't have, or that all you have is the head coach, which just quite frankly to me is ridiculous. That's the one thing that I think annoys me more than anything else, is that they just can't be bothered to put that in the game. It's something so small that I think would make would just look so much better in franchise mode. I mean, even they could have implemented it to MUT as well if they really wanted to. I'm sure that could then have an effect on. That'll be something else people would have to spend coins on. So, to me, it's quite frankly ridiculous that EA can do it on the NHL game. I mean, I'm sure they've got it on NBA Live, and then 2K have got it in the basketball, and then the show have definitely got it as well. So
I had it on NCAA 14 coaching carousel. Like, it's the fact that it was there in NCAA 14, not there in Madden 20, potentially not there in Madden 21, just makes no sense.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that a lot of people kind of wish for as well was an overhaul of contracts, which I can't think of many things more annoying than kind of signing player to a contract and then you realize, as always, that's completely backloaded, and you've got a 28-year-old guy who's on 30 million a year, completely ruined your whole cap. He has to go. How badly, Chris, do they need to give player the ability to front load and backload contracts?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that could improve franchise mode. I mean, obviously, I just mentioned the offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. That's just kind of like an added kind of presentation kind of thing that they could add in, whereas the actual contracts would make such a huge impact. Like, the things you can do at the moment with the contracts are just ridiculous. I mean, I'm surprised actually probably shouldn't mention this, but I'm surprised we've never come across somebody trying to cut a player just after they've drafted them and then re-sign them, so they can then after year one get them on a 7-year deal or whatever. Not that, I mean, it wouldn't really matter because we only play 5-6 seasons, but I mean, I've got a season with some friends on the PlayStation, and we don't have rules or anything, we just muck about on it, and you can draft a player who's 82 overall, superstar dev, cut him, sign him to a 7-year deal, and get him for $6 million a year rather than wait 4 seasons and you've got to pay the quarterback $40 million a year, which is just obviously completely unrealistic. You could never do it, but Madden allows it. Backloading contracts, we see it in every other game. I think NHL, I've been playing a little bit recently. I can't remember if they've got it in that. I think they do. They definitely have it in the show in 2K. So you've got it in the other 3 games, but it's just not something that EA have introduced to Madden. That, I mean, the contracts are such a huge part of the NFL. You would think that would be something that they could change, make it that 30-year-olds. Although I think that has changed this year. We didn't see as many 35-year-olds wanting 5-year deals. But yeah, the contracts thing is huge. Would probably be my biggest thing for actually changing the franchise mode. Be that, and then scouting. But we'll wait and see. I'm actually really hopeful that they've done it this year. It's blind hope, but I'm hopeful.
Let's see. Is it something as simple as have like advanced and beginner contracts in terms of beginner contract, you just have the ability to front load or backload. Advanced kind of allows you to work out how much you're going to pay per, each person per year. Is it something as simple as that they could bring in, and is that something you would like to see?
Yeah. I'm not too knowledgeable about contracts in the NFL and stuff. But yeah, just show you a year-by-year breakdown of what you're going to pay. Do you want to do X, Y, or Z? Again, these things seem so simple. I'm sure they're not simple to actually implement a game, but they need to at least try. They need to give us something this year, so we'll see.
Okay, a few quick fire things, and then we've got a question from Rory before finishing up. Let's see, this is from Johnny, who's in Game Day. He says, more interest in draft presentation. Do you think the draft process needs to be changed? I think, given that the plan, I don't know if they actually did it, for the draft this year due to coronavirus was to have walk out on stage and stuff like that. That's something, would that kind of interesting draft presentation be something you would like to see in Madden 21?
No, don't care. Don't get me wrong, if I was playing in a league on my own, against CPU, and it was the kind of, that kind of thing mattered, then yeah, by all means. But I think there is so much more stuff they need before that. Just to go back to, I seen a post on Twitter from Sim Football Critic, and he was talking about people are saying, they're not going to play Madden this year if they don't have referees on the field or they don't have mouth guards, and it's like, I don't care, you know what I mean? If that's the horse you want to ride on, then that's absolutely fine. Go for it. But it's, how many more things can you think of that would be better than having referees on the field? These things, like I say, it's different if you're playing that game solo, then that's different. These kind of things might matter, but as far as the draft goes, make the pick, show me who they've picked, that's it. I don't care. I don't want arms up to indicate what their dev is. I don't want any of that. I just want to know who they've picked, and that's it. Take them off my draft board.
Well, I mean, I'll add on that to what you've just said there about the arms up and the dev. I've got my old franchise going just on the PlayStation with I've done like a Patriots one with like future draft classes that I've downloaded, so Trevor Lawrence and things like that in the game. And yeah, I mean, that crossed my mind earlier that obviously I'm a commissioner in this league, but the temptation when you've drafted a player and you see hidden dev, I mean, obviously you're not breaking any rules by checking it, but you think, oh, I really want to check out what is he? It just shouldn't be there. They need to do something to hide that. Because I must admit, it does annoy me every draft where we've got that 10-minute spell of everybody jumping on to check what dev their hidden player is.
Yeah.
It should be hidden until it's announced after the 500 snaps or whatever.
Yeah, and like just to go back to the point about more interesting draft presentation, the draft isn't interesting. Like in real life, it's not interesting.
No.
Nobody cares. I mean, you care because you want to know who your player is. It was actually I liked it better this year when they just called the player.
Yeah.
That was it. This is who they've picked.
And
a
told
wee bit
the
of chat
story.
about them. I don't need to see them. I mean, it's different. It's obviously a brilliant moment for the players to go out on stage and all that, but who cares? It's like just get the picks in and get it over with. And even the NFL, once it goes to day 2, I think is it day 2, they're just out naming the players.
Yeah,
that's it. See you later.
I think you hit the nail on the head that from our league perspective, having players walk out with a jersey, sort of fist bumping Roger Goodell or whatever. Yeah, not really interested. I mean, how long is the draft going to take? If they implement that. But in terms of I mean, I do jump on and every now and again I'll play a couple of games or whatever on my own one. I think it would be a nice little addition, but there's so many other things that I think need to be put in before they even start looking on. Same with I thought the same about the celebrations. There's things they need to put in before they start doing on the referees thing. I must admit I disagree slightly with SC. I think that would be quite nice if they added that. I mean, that was a big thing for the FIFA community for quite a long time. Was they didn't have the referee actually on the pitch, which to me it looks a bit daft. I think it would be something nice. I mean, not even so much. I mean, I don't want the back judge getting in the way of my safety or whatever. I don't want that happening, which no one probably would end up happening. But even if they could add them in, like in fact, do they not have them on the sideline at the moment? I think they do, don't they?
They have them on the sideline, and they come up in cutscenes. But I think something like that.
Yeah.
Even having,
I think having them on the field would maybe be a bit more of a nuisance than anything. But I think having them on the sideline, if off the top of my head, I think the fact that I don't know if they're on the sideline probably means that it doesn't really matter to me. So I probably agree with SC actually that there's bigger things they need to address.
Rory in the comments said that he dev comes up on Danny League, sadly for us, when it's hidden dev. I think this is the first time I've got a hidden dev player, and I didn't check actually. I kind of want to see the excitement when I finally get to 500. Just call it 500 snaps. But I think kind of mentioned. I wasn't going to bring this up, but you mentioned it, Chris. In terms of like the hidden dev and stuff like that, would you think it would make the game or the draft better if every single player had hidden dev? And I think it's a two-part question. Would it be better if it was that? And two, would it be better, even not for our league, because it would promote spamming, if the dev depended on how they played in the first 2 seasons? So if you draft someone in the first round and he has an amazing first 2 season, he has superstar dev. You draft someone in the 6th round, he has a first really good season, he has superstar dev. You draft someone in the first round at quarterback and he throws a bunch of interceptions, really, really bad against normal dev. That kind of make it a bit more realistic and kind of force you to play all of your rookies. But, at the moment, if you've got a 6th round guy with normal dev, you're not going to play him. He's just there for cheap depth. It'd be better if everyone was hidden dev and was dependent on how they played. What do you think of that, Chris?
I mean, in an ideal scenario, I think yes, it would be good. My only concern would be if it was solely based on how it played, it would give the best players a huge advantage. We would just see after 2 seasons, their 7 players or 14 players that they drafted if obviously they just kept their own 7 picks, but we would then just see 14 players on their team all with superstar and X Factor dev. Thinking like Rayski, SC, CB, Rory, yourself, just teams full of absurd players. And then we would see some players in the weaker division who struggle at the best of times would end up with all their rookies basically being normal dev, and if you draft a 76 rated quarterback after 2 seasons he's only 80 rated, that would be my major concern, that it would just imbalance the league, which I think we've done a pretty good job this year of rebalancing.
See, is that too much of a bad idea for a league like ours?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. We needs to get away from XP based, although that's not said, but that idea that if someone it should just be organic, like it should just happen. Like the players should improve. If players, you should draft a player, and best case scenario it could get to this rating, worst case scenario it could get to this rating, but not always 99. Do you know what I mean? It's like a happy medium. Spread it out. You shouldn't know what his dev is. You shouldn't know any of this stuff. This should all just happen in the background. And you get the end product 4 or 5 years down the line. That would be the dream for me. I think Football Manager, obviously not everyone will played it, but it does it perfectly. It tells you you've got this player, this is what his potential ability is, he's potentially as good as this player, these are the issues he has, gives you information without telling you everything about them. And you can see everything about them if you keep scouting them, but you don't get that information straight away. So that's the kind of dream for me, in my opinion.
I think kind of like to follow on from that is that the thing with Football Manager for me anyway is that stats are kind of there and they don't change. If you've got a player who's 27, stats aren't going to change that much. No matter how many goals he scores, all that kind of stuff. It's more the rookies, the younger players, and stuff like that. And again, the development is based on good training, which ultimately will make training more important in franchise. Again, I also think it's kind of tied to how they play. So, not be a situation where even if it's organic, the weaker players in the league, their players won't develop as quickly as better players, or would it again just not be tied to anything? Would it just tied to I guess
Yeah, I mean, I think you would need to tie it to things like training and stuff, because that's the same for everybody. Nobody gets an advantage with training. In-game performance, you could have certain things like, I'm trying to think of an example, but even like the likes of Football Manager, like players maybe don't develop much when they're older, but does anybody develop much when they're older? Even in American football, I mean, I don't know millions about it, but I can't think of many players that got better the older they were. Their development would have been, in their early years, and then they'll hit their peak, and then that'll be it.
Yeah.
And I think, again, Football Manager does well. Like, goalkeepers hit their peak later than the other types of guys. So like 28, 29-year-old goalkeepers are fine. They'll still develop and stuff. So I think we're dreaming really to think this will ever come to Madden, but that would be the hope, and the hope that something like that is brought up on next week when the chat is. But I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, from my point of view, I think the training one is the dev of players is an extremely difficult one. Because they're trying to balance. I mean, there's no way they can balance between what we want and say what I want when I'm playing on my own. Because when I'm playing on my own, I want to be able to draft a player and be 99 overall after 2 seasons. Because I'm just playing it for fun. Whereas in the league, I obviously don't want that. So what I'm looking for is completely different, and there's no way they can cater for both. I think the only thing they probably could do would maybe be introduce like what FIFA have done, and be able to do like actual training midweek. So obviously you basically do the training once and then sim it, and then you get the same every time you sim it. Whereas FIFA introduced training on career mode where you play, if you sim the training, you get like minimum XP. Whereas if you actually do and there's loads of different types, so you could choose you can go onto your squad and choose like 5 players. So you can choose, I'm wanting, let's say you're Man United, right? I'm going to have De Gea and do a goalkeeping drill with him. I'm going to have Pogba and do a dribbling one with him. Like, if they could kind of introduce that a little bit with Madden, where you could, I'll go with Lamar Jackson and I'll work on his accuracy this week. Now, I'm not saying then give him 2+ medium accuracy, but you could almost build it up. Like, you could get so if he's 20, I mean, what's Lamar Jackson? I think he's still stupidly young. He's 22. If at his age group, it's you need 5 blocks to get up 1 medium accuracy rating. You do that training, that gives you 2 blocks or 1 block. And after 5 of those training, boom, his medium accuracy goes up by 1. If they could kind of work something in like that, I don't know. I really don't know if they could do it. I think it would be probably too much for them. But I mean, I think the way FIFA have done it, I think is excellent. And if obviously that's EA as well, if they could kind of pull bits from that, I think that could work. But the training definitely needs an overhaul, because I do training. I did training once, the first preseason game, and I've done the same training every week since. I don't bother doing it. I just get the XP, whatever it is. Because generally speaking, I want to upgrade my quarterback and I want to upgrade my O-line. So that's the one I did week 1, and it's not changed since.
I think that probably one of the last points on training is that for me, I think it's stupid that you do a drill for the running back. That includes the quarterback handing it off, the running back running, the offensive line blocking, the wide receiver blocking, the tight end blocking. Only your running back and your offensive line will get a thing. I think the best way to do it is the players on the field, they all get some kind of attribute boost, because no team only focuses on defensive back and things. That who actually trains kickers and punters? No one, because it's a complete waste of time. But I think that's really important. If we end on a question from Rory, he asked, what did we think about breakout scenarios, and should that be something they should improve? Start with USC. What do you think about them, and should they improve it? And I guess how would they improve it?
They should have them, but they should just be hidden. They should just happen. It shouldn't be get 3 touchdowns and 150 yards. It should just be, you know, for example, your rookie wide receiver, he scored a touchdown in 4 consecutive games. So give him a boost, not necessarily as dev, but it could be here's plus 10 on his catch, and you know, something like that. The stories and the breakout stuff I think is good. I think they just need to be implemented better again. There's no again, it's what we want rather than what people want. You know, there's no point. It's a waste of time us knowing that somebody has to get 3 touchdowns. I think somebody actually mentioned it after one of their games. You know, they lost because they lost, or they nearly lost because they were trying to get the
they did lose. Yeah.
So that's karma for doing that, but you know, it shouldn't be like that, and it shouldn't be such crazy levels as well. You know, 3 touchdowns in a game is even for, you know, I think we did that quiz question the other day. I think it was 4 touchdowns, and there wasn't that many. So it's like, you know, don't do that. It should be, you know, if they get 6 touchdowns by the bye week, then give them something, whatever it may be in the game. It should just happen. It shouldn't be something that you have to achieve. For me, that would be. But I like the idea. It's a good idea, but I don't like the way it's implemented. But again, that's because it doesn't work for us. Whereas somebody playing on their own, that might be quite good for them. You know, this is what I need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've pretty much summed that up. From in terms of what we do with the league, it's dreadful, and I hate them. But from when I'm playing in a mini league with 3 pals on PS4, if I see that coming up, being like, "Oh, get your player to X Factor and get him 150 yards or 3 touchdowns," it's like, all right, no bother, because there's no issue with spamming. But obviously, we are very much actively trying to discourage spamming. So yeah, especially the big ones. I'm not so concerned about the defensive ones. It's the offensive ones I don't like.
Just to go back to them as well, like we've obviously this year we did our random acts of badness, right? And again, these maybe not the storylines that go along with them, but these things should happen in the league.
Yeah.
You know, your players should get injured in training. You know, stuff should happen to them. Players should randomly retire. Don't get me wrong, I don't want 5 players a season to randomly retire, but there could maybe be one every 4 years that player X should just say, "That's me, I'm out." You know, one of the stories is like when you win the Super Bowl and one of your older players says, "That's it for me. You know, I couldn't have done any more. Delighted, I'm retiring." That's great, and that's an easy thing. Just do more like that. You know, players getting injured during the week, players being ill, just stupid stuff. You know, like easy.
It could be even something that they make that you can turn on or off.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be loads of folk that just want to basically have a 99 rated overall squad, beat the CPU 60-3, and just do that on repeat. Whereas there are some people that want to play the more realistic style sim game. I mean, NBA do it. You get things like that in NBA FM. You get that. They do implement it in games, and it'd be something I'm sure. I mean, you can turn the X Factor abilities off. I mean, again, I don't know how difficult it would be to do, as Rory said, pull Avante Davis and retire at half time. I don't know if they should implement that, but
something like you know, if when you know, obviously you've a number of weeks to sign your player to contract. So maybe if you don't sign him after a couple of weeks, he says, "Well, I'm not going to train," or you know, his performance will go down. You know, there's loads of easy stuff they could do. Well, easy in inverted commas, I think. But,
yeah, I think there's definitely more they could do to try and make it a little bit more immersive and try and make. I mean, I don't want to keep going back to FM, but FM's pretty good in terms of what they put in. I mean, even things like the Brexit vote and how that affects you signing players, and I mean that's been in for years as well. The Brexit vote. that's something that Football Manager implemented 3 years ago. So it's not like it's not even something that they've just done. It's something that they'd done ages ago and thought, right, this is happening. We can stick this in. This is going to have an effect, and let's add it. And even although SE on your career, you might have a different Brexit rules to me. Even if Madden could do that and put different stuff in, so it wasn't always the same, but there's definitely more stuff they can do to try and just add that little bit of realism. And even if they can flick a switch so you could turn it off. But yeah, there's definitely more they can do. But hopefully on, Tuesday, all our prayers will be answered and they'll be listening to this and scrambling to get all this in the game. But I doubt it.
Tuesday night, I'm actually off on Monday, and I probably will stay up for this. It's going to be. It's so weird how this one thing is going to completely make or break the next 12 months of our life.
Yeah. It's mad.
If franchise barely gets a mention, I do think there are people in our league that say a mention barely gets much added. I think people will just say, I'm not paying 50, 60, 70 pound on the exact same thing. I think just, if they overhaul scouting or add coaching carousel, it completely changes franchise mode. I think in terms of breakout scenarios, to me, it promotes spamming, and playing by yourself is pretty easy to get them. Playing in the league, and it's so hit and miss. If you play a really bad player and has your wide receiver has an amazing game, and the breakout scenario is against someone like Reisky, you just want to punch yourself in the balls because it's it's just the worst timing. And one thing I was kind of looking at, and I didn't really discuss it with the other commissioners because I don't think it would work. Kind of just saying, you know what? If your player gets a breakout scenario, just get it. Even if you don't get it, we will manually give it to you, because I do think it's quite harsh that, depending on the person you play, will just immediately you whether you're going to get it or not. Or even just as you guys mentioned, trying to get 3 touchdowns with one player in a league where you can't ban players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harsh. Or 150 yards, that's basically 2 streaks, something like that. And personally, I don't think it's quite fair to this player from getting a superstar player simply because of our rules and stuff like that. But hopefully, breakout scenarios is a bit simpler and also negative in terms that if you franchise tag a player and he didn't want it, he will sit out until you sign him. Or if your player says he wants X amount of touches and you don't give it to him, he demands a trade. Because he demands a trade, he's not going to play. Doesn't make Fitzpatrick. To me, I want more negative breakout scenarios than positive ones. But nearly been 2 hours. As thank you for doing this. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Not that no, I just think it's. We had these discussions on Slack and stuff like that, but it's good to voice all of these things.
That's without jokes as well.
Yeah. I think it's something that we should definitely do more often. People that have joined us, it's good to see Rob in the chat and other people. Rob, if you're still here, coming back next Madden. That's all I want to know. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll chat to you guys soon.
Ta-ra.